Hello and welcome. We are continuing our discussion of methodologies and the software development lifecycle by digging deeper into the lightweight methodology that we're going to be focused on in this course, which is the Agile methodology. This is a lightweight methodology. It does focus on that iterative feedback loop, having a couple of sprints um, to get all of our work done, doing a little bit of planning up front, but understanding that plans change and we need some flexibility. So at the end of the last lecture, I did send you off, we'll say, with a reflective question of, trying to figure out that balance between what needs to be done rigidly and what needs to be done with some flexibility and how do we strike that balance. And here, hopefully, we're going to find that the Agile methodology does sit us somewhere near the middle. Of course, it does have its own challenges, like anything, right? There are pros and cons, but it is a really nice middle ground. Okay, so let's dig into it. So let's start with this idea of the Agile Manifesto. So if you have already done your required readings, you will see the Agile Manifesto. If you haven't yet, here is a quick introduction to what it is. And this is sort of what people who follow this Agile methodology, what they live and breathe by. So it's this idea that we're going to favor individuals and interactions over our processes and tools, right? Um, Even the fanciest tools, oh, move that out of the way. So the idea is that we are going to favor individuals and interactions over processes and tools. The idea being that even the fanciest of tools still require a skilled chef to use them, right? Otherwise, you just end up with gruel. So if we have a really mean chef who yells at all their kitchen staff all the time and they're all stressed out and everything is terrible, we give them really great kitchen equipment, it doesn't really make a difference. The interactions between people, the individuals who are using the equipment, that's what matters, right? We end up with gruel when things are terrible. But if we have a really nice, fun chef who makes the workplace enjoyable and fun, we can even use bad equipment. It won't really make or break the whole process quite as much as those individuals and the culture and interactions that are occurring around them. And then that's how we get that really nice gourmet meal. My loose analogy there. Okay. Oops. There we go. So the next sort of tenant or pillar that we're going to live by after favoring our individuals and interactions over tools and software is going to be that we're actually going to favor working software over comprehensive documentation. Now, one of the big sort of fears that come with telling, like from an instructor perspective, with telling students anything really, any rule is they treat that rule like a hammer and everything is a nail, right? So now we don't want to use this sort of as a crutch to say we don't need any documentation. This isn't saying that we don't need comments. I just need it to work, right? We're not saying that those things are true. We're just saying that when our scale is tipped, instead, it's not 100-0, but when our scale is tipped, we're going to favor working software over this idea of comprehensive documentation, right? If we have a really simple, easy to use vehicle, it's got intuitive design, it has a steering wheel, and a brake pedal and a gas pedal. We don't really need to read the documentation in order to figure out how to start the car, right? We push the button and we go off and we're good to go. And that intuitive design makes it work. We don't need a rocket ship to get to the corner store, right? We just need a car. We really probably just need a bike, but a simple car works. And then on the comprehensive documentation side, we have built this super flashy, beautiful, smart, fast car. But for any, layperson to use it, for any normal working person to use it, they are going to need this giant manual. Because the car works really well, but only if you know how to drive it and what all of the different buttons do and how to interact with it all. And in this idea of the Agile Manifesto, we're going to try and favor this idea of simplistic working software first over as much documentation as we can come up with. If it works as expected and intended, less documentation can be okay. Please once again notice, I'm not saying no documentation. We look over here. Whoops. We see my pointer. We can. Oh, it took us all the way back there for some reason. Right here, there's still a user manual. We still have some documentation, but it's this idea that simplistic well-designed software, well-designed products don't need massive amounts of documentation. Small amounts of documentation can do the trick. The next tenet in our or pillar in our Agile manifesto is this idea of customer collaboration is more important than contract negotiation. Now, just like everything else, right? This is a balance. I am not saying ignore your contract. It's okay. You're going to work for no money as long as your customer is happy. And I'm also not saying, that the opposite would have to be true otherwise, that no, I don't care about the customer as long as I'm getting paid for my time, right? This is a give and take. We're talking about building a trustful relationship with our customer. And it is a balance. It's not 0 to 100. It's 60-40 or 70-30, depending. So here we can see we have a bride. She asks for a cream colored dress. She's given some images to look at. She's shown some sample dresses before the dress is made. Then they go off and make the dress, and she's very happy with the dress that was given to her. In terms of contract negotiation, the bride asks for a cream colored dress and she doesn't get to see it again before the wedding. She gave them her budget, she told them what she wanted, and then she showed up on her wedding day and it was disgusting and filled with obscene ruffles and roughly cap sleeves and all these horrible things. And we can see that one, we're involving our customer in the process throughout, right? They're given images to look at first, so we can narrow down what the customer actually wants. And then they're going to be shown some sample dresses, and then they can say what they want from those. And we can keep them sort of in the loop all the way along. Working with our customer will ensure a happier ending than if we don't, because they've been involved in that process. Words get lost all the time. People say they want one thing but mean something else, right? We all have different interpretations, and so many different things come into play from different idioms and language barriers and meanings and subtext and expectations and human interaction is complicated. And so we can see why involving our customer who in their brain knows what they want but maybe can't vocalize it, involving them all the way through would ensure that they're going to get the product that they want at the end, as opposed to focusing on listing it all out at the beginning, getting that contract negotiated, and then never seeing our customer again. We can see which one's going to end up giving us 5 stars on Yelp, right? Which customer is going to be happier at the end, or more likely to be happy, we'll say. Okay. Finally, we have our fourth pillar here. And this one is going to be responding to change is going to be more important than following a plan. And again, maybe it's just the anxious girl in me, but this is not 0-100. It does not mean you enter with zero plan. It does not mean that we never follow a plan. It just means that it's okay to respond to change and make meaningful, smart decisions. For example, if we see a traffic jam up ahead and we decide to take a side road, that's cool. We're still going to get to the same place at the end of the day. Maybe it takes us an extra 4 minutes to get around the traffic jam, but we made a really smart last minute decision to pivot around, right? As opposed to potentially planning a road trip and you're not taking detours, even if there is a traffic jam. We have to stay with whatever our GPS is telling us. No decision can be made outside of what was decided before we left the house, right? In one, we maybe take an extra 4 minutes, but look at that. We even get some beautiful sights on our detour. And the other one, we're stuck in traffic, right? We could be stuck in traffic and who knows for how long. And who knows, maybe we respond to change and then we have to respond to that change, right? There's a huge chain reaction that could occur there, and that's okay too, because it's all about being adaptable versus being strictly rigid, right? And trying to reach that balance. So those four pillars are sort of the tenets of the Agile Manifesto. And then in addition to that, we have these 12 Agile principles that get listed out. And again, there is a required reading doc, but it will list the exact same 12 because these are well-known 12 principles of Agile development, right? We care about customer satisfaction and we ensure it through early and continuous delivery. So we bring them minimum viable products, very simple, easy products, and we can continuously deliver on those, showing them the work we've done along the way. We're okay with changing requirements, even if it's late in the development cycle. Sometimes that can be annoying, but we're okay with it. Deliver working software frequently. This ties in with number one, right? Every single step along the way is a working piece of software. Whether or not it's exactly what they wanted, it won't be, because getting what they wanted probably takes time. But at each step, we have something to show them that takes us one step closer to that final product. Business and developers work together daily. So enter cubicles instead of offices and enter meetings with technical and non-technical people in a room together and trying to figure out how to communicate, right? Those conversations have to keep happening so that we can make sure we're delivering the best product possible. Build projects around motivated individuals. We want to work with people who are passionate. People who are passionate will produce better work and will be more involved in it. Face-to-face communication is the most effective method. This doesn't have to be in person, of course. It could be like a Zoom call these days. We see lots of that, and that's kind of adapted what maybe face-to-face communication means and looks like. But we're going to favor it over, an email once a week. We favor it so strongly that some of those methodologies, such as Scrum, involves daily stand-ups. Every single day, we get together with our whole team and tell them the things that we're working on, right? So we're going to favor that as much as we can. Working software is the primary measure of progress, right? So it's not about how much money we saved or how few developers we needed or how quickly before the deadline we're ready to go. Working software at each stage of the process is our measure of progress. We are heading in the right direction as long as we have working software at each stage. And again, that doesn't mean complete finished, and it doesn't mean things may not change or be removed or whatever, but we have progress, not perfection. Sustainable development and the ability to maintain pace indefinitely is our next principle. So this idea of sustainable development means we're not burning people out. We're not asking them for this really hard deadline that no matter what we can't miss, and everybody's going to have to, and it's unattainable. It's in 3 days and everybody has to work 20 hours a day for the next 3 days, right? We want to be able to pick a pace that we could maintain indefinitely so that we can learn and grow from our ability to work as a team and better measure how much work we can get done and when we can get it done. This idea of continuous attention to technical excellence and good design. So again, we're not saying no documentation. We're not saying just get the code working. It doesn't matter what it looks like. We are paying attention to those things. We are going to strive for those things in good design. That's one of our main tenets, in fact. Simplicity, those two, again, we're talking about balance here because otherwise they're a little bit in controversy with each other. They're a little bit in contradiction, I mean, with each other. But this idea of maximizing the amount of work not done is essential, right? So we really need to try and min-max how much we're doing up ahead of time versus how much can wait, and what pieces we know we're going to need in the immediate future, and what pieces are nice to have, but we don't need to finish immediately. And we'll talk more about sort of that balance as the videos and term progresses. The 11th principle is the idea that best architectures, requirements, and designs are going to come from self-organizing teams. Now, you, of course, don't get to self-organize in this course at this time, but you do fill out a survey that tells me all about your skills, and I do my best to organize you into teams that will do a good job of bringing different perspectives together, bring a diverse array of opinions together, and allow people with different skill sets to achieve a product that has good depth and breadth, right? I'm not going to put a team of UI developers together with nobody who knows how to do a database. I'm not going to put all database people together with nobody who knows why we make cancel buttons red. So this idea that we want teams to come together sort of organically, but this one they won't be. But the idea that you take the skills you have, you showcase them, and we'll organize ourselves into teams that can do a really good job. And lastly, the idea of regular reflection and behavior adjustment helps us in the long term. Again, progress, not perfection. A big part of software development and group work is this idea that we're not going to get it perfect and that we do want to engage in that reflective practice. We want to be aware of our strengths, but also our weaknesses and the places that we need to improve. And that open honesty allows us to be better developers. And we're going to talk lots more about that group dynamic and how to achieve that as we continue. So here we go. Build projects around motivated individuals. Give them the environment and support they need and trust them to get the job done. Right? So this idea of autonomy that your developers, right? So number one, I think, or where was it? One of these, here we go. We were talking about this idea of having autonomy in our projects. I can't even find it now, but I know those words came out of my mouth. This idea that we're going to build projects around people who can do the job, and we have to have this trust in them, right? An e-commerce company lets a motivated cross-functional team, so designers and developers and marketers, they just own the redesign. They pick their own tools. They figure it out themselves. And we say, just do a good job, right? We say, here you go. And this is extreme because deadlines still exist in the real world and whatnot and requirements. But we put together a team of individuals that each have strong self-awareness in their domain of expertise. And we say, go for it. And they can get the job done. That's what the true hope is here. Delivering software frequently, like we said, right? Think about a streaming service such as Netflix. Here, they're going to roll out small, regular updates all the time, bug fixes, new features, different UI tweaks, different videos. Instead of just one giant version every single year, that's what you get. And if it's broken, you're going to have to wait till next year. Or if it doesn't really make sense, you're going to have to wait till next year, right? We see this continuous mode of delivery throughout the year, throughout the years. To sort of enhance and create a better product, right? It allows you the customers, which is us in that scenario, but in any scenario, this allows your customers to see value early and often. They don't have to wait for months to be maybe find improvement and maybe not, right? We want people to have the opportunity to give feedback early, to see the things that we're doing are meaningful early. That's going to help us build that trust with our clients. Okay, so in our course, we have 3 sprints. We have 3 iterations of development time. We do technically have 4 sprints, but the first one is not development. And here's sort of an example of what this might look like when we're talking about iterative development. We have this loop of deliver, feedback, improve, repeat. So in iteration 1, perhaps we're making a productivity application. And in iteration 1, we've decided that we're going to deliver an app that can make a task list that you can check things off on. Okay, that's it. That's all it can do. You can't edit them. I didn't say the word edit. I said you can just complete tasks on a task list. It doesn't even say that you can add tasks, to be honest. It just says a task list is populated and you can complete the task, put little check marks on it. That's it. That is our minimum product right now. And then the user comes back and says, cool, now I need deadlines though. Like it's pretty important that I can put deadlines because it is for productivity. And we go, oh yeah, good call. So we add deadlines. And as part of that, we recognize that people can add deadlines and they might be out of order. So we include sorting. So again, this is great. We now are able to add deadlines. We can add sorting to our productivity app. We give it back to our users and the users come back and say, this is great, but I also need reminders. I have all my notifications on my phone, but I don't always remember to check my app. So I'm going to need you to send me reminders. Perfect. We're going to deliver that in our next iteration. So now we can add in that feedback. And in addition to that, we can add more. We can do some improvements, such as adding recurring tasks. And then once we have those things working, we now have a user who says, this is great, but instead of notifications, let's do calendar syncing, right? So we can really see how if we sort of scope out the idea of what our project might look like with all these different big features, how we can organize them into iterations that while maybe are not something our customer can use yet, give them a glimpse into the direction it's heading. It allows them to give that feedback, to tell us it looks good, to say, yes, I like the task list, but it needs to have deadlines, or I need to be able to sort it, or it needs to have reminders, right? If we don't tell them anything, by the end, if we had just made something with tasks and it's got a list, you've got some tasks, you can add deadlines, but we never thought about doing sorting because you're just going to add them in the order you need them. We would have ended up in a situation where maybe the users needed that and they hadn't had an opportunity to see it until the very end of our project. So like I had said, in this class, the way that we do Agile looks a little bit different than like a pure, true Agile methodology. And that comes from lots of different reasons, right? We're in a class, you're not on this project 24/7. This isn't your job. You don't have all these different roles. All of you are going to wear all of the hats. Some of you may be stronger with design. You're going to wear the design hat. And some of you maybe are better back-end developers, database developers. You'll wear that hat. But in theory, all of you wear all the hats on your team. And each iteration lasts about 2 to 3 weeks in a regular 13-week term. And it's important for us to recognize that you need to expect change. There is going to be change, right? So we're going to embrace incomplete deliverables. We understand that things might not get done because in this class, our Agile doesn't go on forever. It only goes on for 3 iterations. The biggest things are that we are talking to our teammates. Communication is key. And we'll talk about retrospectives in a bit, but again, this idea of reflective practice, of checking back in on yourself and how you're doing, we're going to do that on a team level as well. So that's what that retrospective is. We're going to do reflective practice on a team and project level to help us improve our process and improve our development throughout this course. So, like I said, have you read the Agile Manifesto yet? It's really, really short. If you haven't, please go see the required readings and do it. And as part of your reflective practice so far, once you've read it, what do you think is going to be the hardest for you to follow this term, right? And again, we're not thinking 0, 1. So if right now you're saying, well, it's going to be really easy for me to follow not writing any documentation. That's so easy for me because I hate documentation. I want you to remind yourself that less documentation doesn't mean no documentation. So really try to think about that balance when you're answering this question so that you can dig deeper into understanding each of these values and understand sort of where maybe you fall on the spectrum for each of the pillars, for each of the Agile Manifesto pillars as well. And with that, we are all done talking about the Agile Manifesto and the iterative process. And we're going to head into the final video for week 1. And complete sort of this introductory learning around the software development lifecycle and how we get projects up and running. Cool. So thanks, everybody, and I will see you in the next video. Bye.